Hello, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Liftoff with Jeanniey Walden, the show that helps you pave a path to success at work and at home. You all know me, but in case you are a new viewer, I'm your host, Jeanniey Walden, and we are here on our fabulous new set. This episode is an emotionally powerful one, so get ready. I hope you love our guest as much as I do because we are bringing some critical discussions right to the forefront. Our first guest, Mitch Albom, is the author of numerous books of fiction and nonfiction, which have collectively sold more than 40 million copies in 47 languages worldwide. He has written 7 #1 New York Times bestsellers, including Tuesdays with Morrie, the best-selling memoir of all time. He joins us now to discuss his new book, The Little Liar. It's available now. Welcome, Mitch.
Thanks, Jeannie. Happy to be here.
So, Mitch, you know I'm not a huge fan of books, but this one gave me goosebumps and I couldn't put it down. Tell all our viewers why you decided to write this book.
I didn't know how pertinent it would be today when I started it a couple of years ago, I have to be honest, but I've always wanted to write a book about truth and lies and the price we pay for both of them. And I came up with this story based on true events of an 11-year-old boy in Greece during World War II who had never told a lie in his life. He was known in his neighborhood as the most honest kid. And when the Nazis invade, they find out about him and they kidnap him and decide to use him. And they say, listen, you can go back to your family and everything will be fine. All you have to do is stand on the train tracks and tell these people who are coming that they're going to good jobs and good homes. And then you can go back to your family. And thinking, being a trusting kid, he does this day after day until on the last day, the last train, he sees his own family being shoved into a boxcar and finds out that they're all being sent to concentration camps to die. And he realizes that he's been lying all this time, this kid who's been honest. And from that point forward, he can never speak the truth again until he's forgiven. And it follows him over the course of the next 40 years.
And so, what was it that actually inspired you?
You know, I grew up in a neighborhood where there was a older Jewish couple that lived just down the street, and they always wore long sleeves, even in the summertime. And I remember asking my mother as a kid, why are they wearing long sleeves? It's hot outside. And they said, well, they have these numbers on their wrist, but they don't want people to see. And I said, why not? And she said, well, you'll find out when you're older. Well, I'm older and I found out, but those people are gone now, almost all of them. And they're not here to tell the story of what happened. And if you can't be reminded of what happened, you run the risk of repeating it. And when I look around at the world and I see how we sort of choose our truths and, we decide, well, we're going to listen to this news network and nothing else, or we're going to believe this guy and nothing else, I start to worry about where we can go when we're not dedicated to finding out the real truth of things. So I thought it was a story that was pertinent, but still very emotional and even hopeful, because what's a more hopeless time than during the Holocaust? And yet people still had hope. This little boy still has hope that one day he's going to be forgiven. His family in the concentration camp at night, even for all the terrible things that happen, they gather around and they force each other to say one good thing that happened that day. Maybe they got an extra spoonful of soup. Maybe a rotted tooth fell out, or one says, I saw a bird today. Why do people gravitate to hope, even in the most hopeless of situations? Well, because hope is what keeps us alive. And so I thought these were important things to say in a time that we're in right now. And they kind of all came together in this story.
Your books always have a larger message. And with everything that's going on in the world today, did you know about that when you started to write this book?
In the end, yeah, it's a bit of a thriller, and it follows these 4 people, the 3 kids and the Nazi who tricked him, all for 40 years. So you don't know, as they interweave with one another, what's going to happen, but it shows the ramifications of the lies that were told. But in the end, it's a love story about these 2 little kids when they're 11 and 12 who are kind of in love with one another and then are separated by this Holocaust. And he becomes a recluse, ashamed of what he's done. And she spends her life searching for him because he's changed his name and she can't find him. She travels around the world until she finally finds him, to try to say to him, it's okay, you're forgiven, you didn't know what you were doing. And love in the end is what sort of redeems us from whatever we're suffering from. And so, yeah, I wanted to deliver something that by the end would have that message, but you got to read it to the end to get to that.
Mitch, it was such a pleasure having you on.
Thank you, Jeannie. It's good talking to you.
See, I told you it'd be powerful, didn't I? I don't know about you, but I still have chills. Our next guest is going to keep us right on that same topic as we discuss his nonprofit for the Jewish community. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.